Have you ever felt that the very moment you believed, you had finally awakened to a deeper truth within yourself? Love began to slip away from your hands? Strange, isn't it? You'd think that inner growth would open your heart wider, that your soulmate would be drawn to you after all the work you've done on yourself. Yet instead, you feel unable to step into any relationship at all. Does that mean you're broken? Or worse, that something has gone terribly wrong? Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will completely shift the way you see this stage of your journey. In this video, I'll uncover why awakening can sometimes feel like the death of romance, why solitude starts to feel holy, and how the timeless psychology of Carl Jung can guide you through this confusing transformation into lasting peace. So if you've caught yourself whispering, "Why don't I care about love anymore? What's wrong with me?" Listen carefully, because the answer may surprise you. Before awakening, most of us chase relationships not from pure love, but from fear. Fear of emptiness. Fear of being alone. Fear that we aren't enough as we are. Society pushes this idea that only when you marry, when you raise children, when you play out the perfect picture, then you are complete. But Jung explained that once you begin integrating your shadow, the hidden parts of yourself, something shifts. You no longer cast your missing pieces onto other people. Instead of imagining a partner as the half that makes you whole, you start to see them simply as they are. And here lies the paradox. Once illusions fade, what you see doesn't always match the fantasy. This can make relationships feel flat, less magical, even disappointing. But it isn't disappointment. It is clarity. Many awakened individuals even question whether to have children, not because they are broken, but because bringing a child into a world of consumerism, ego, and unconscious cycles can feel unbearably heavy. Some people confess, "I don't want to pass on the wounds I am still healing. I want my life force to go into creating, into teaching, into healing, not into repeating the patterns society expects." These aren't excuses. They are raw, authentic truths that arise when you start to value reality above tradition. If this resonates with you so far, take a moment to subscribe to my channel SYC Soul and tap the bell so you won't miss the upcoming deep dives into awakening and psychology. And if you feel someone needs to hear this, share this video with them. When Carl Jung spoke about the journey of individuation, the process of becoming whole, he described it as a union of opposites within you. Your masculine and feminine energies, your conscious and unconscious layers, the inner anima and animus, all of these begin to integrate. Before this happens, we unconsciously search for wholeness in another person. That's why we obsess over finding the one. But after awakening, that desperate longing collapses. You realize you are no longer incomplete. And though this realization is liberating, it can feel unsettling. What once seemed like punishment, solitude, suddenly begins to feel like a sacred temple. You guard it carefully. You crave space. You pull away from the noise. While some may call this antisocial behavior, what's really happening is that your nervous system is recalibrating itself. You are learning, perhaps for the very first time, to feel safe simply by being you. Now, let me ask you something. Is this connecting with your own journey? Do you feel these shifts within yourself? If yes, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from. I'd love to see how far this shared awakening has reached. And if you appreciate the effort I put into this work, do let me know. It inspires me to bring you even more. So let's continue. Jung observed that when people deeply integrate their shadow, the illusions they once clung to begin to dissolve. And what illusion is stronger than the fantasy of a perfect relationship that will magically fix everything? After awakening, instead of butterflies, you often feel calm clarity. Instead of blind excitement, you may feel cautious. This isn't regression, it's maturity. Awakening forces you to look at the unconscious contracts you once carried. I will only be loved if I please others. Or, I'm worthy only if I have a partner, or even someone else must save me from my loneliness. When those hidden contracts dissolve, relationships can suddenly look more like traps than blessings. You begin to notice the places where you gave away your power, where you accepted far less than you deserved, where you confused attachment for love. And then your whole being quietly whispers, pause. That pause is not emptiness. It is sacred. Just like a tree that appears bare after pruning, you are preparing to grow again, this time with authenticity. Jung often explained that much of what we admire or despise in others are actually reflections of qualities we have disowned in ourselves. When you long for someone strong, you are often ignoring your own inner strength. When you idolize someone's gentleness, it may be because you have hidden away your own softness. This is why, when awakening deepens and you lose interest in relationships, it usually means you are reclaiming those forgotten pieces within. Suddenly, you don't need another person to carry your anger for you, to protect your fragility, or to hold your ambition. You are learning to hold these aspects yourself. And here is a powerful practice. Each time you find yourself enchanted by or irritated with someone, write it down. Ask yourself, what does this trait awaken in me? Where inside me does this quality live? Over time, you'll begin to see that your inner world is constantly being mirrored back to you by those around you. This shift doesn't just reduce disappointment in others. It transforms how you connect with people. Instead of seeking from a place of emptiness, you begin meeting others from a place of wholeness. And that changes everything. Yet this stage can look and feel antisocial. You might no longer want to date. You may even withdraw from friends who feel shallow or fake. Silence might feel far more nourishing than small talk. But think about it. Once you have tasted truth, how can you keep playing the same surface-level games? Jung himself noticed this in many of his patients. After moments of profound inner change, they often went through what he described as a period of necessary isolation. Yes, they felt cut off, but in reality, they were anchoring themselves. They were learning to step back into society on their own terms, not as conformists, but as individuals. So if you find yourself pulling away from people, it doesn't mean you are destined to be alone forever. It means you are cleansing yourself of shallow connections, so you can one day recognize the depth of authentic ones. Think of it like fasting. When you stop feeding your body processed foods, your system craves silence first. No sugar, no noise, no constant stimulation. But eventually, your taste resets, and you begin to enjoy real nourishment again. In the same way, after awakening, you are fasting from false intimacy. And when true intimacy finally arrives, you will know it instantly. If you are relating to this stage, let me know in the comments. Do you feel like solitude is becoming sacred for you? Or does it still feel heavy? Share your truth, because your journey may inspire someone else watching this right now. Jung once said something profound. Loneliness is not about being without people, but about being unable to share what truly matters to you. After awakening, that gap between you and the rest of the world can feel enormous. You notice how rare it is to speak openly about the truths you've discovered. And yet, solitude becomes the very space where your soul's voice finally has room to speak without compromise. During this period, many people uncover passions they never touched before. Creativity blossoms. You might feel drawn to painting, writing, or music. Some turn towards spiritual practices, meditation, prayer, dream journaling. Others discover joy in the simple, almost forgotten rhythms of life. Walking in nature, cooking slowly, watching the sunrise. These are not distractions or hobbies. They are ways of grounding yourself into your essence. They remind you that love is not just something you receive from another. It's something you become. But let's be honest, fear still visits. Sometimes in the silence, a voice whispers, "What if I stay alone forever? What if I've closed my heart too much? What if my standards are too high?" Jung's shadow work provides a guiding light here. Because often, beneath those fears lies the shadow of self-doubt. Ask yourself, do I believe I am lovable? Do I truly believe I deserve someone who matches my soul? If doubt lingers, try this practice. Write down the fear in its rawest form. For example, I will never find someone who understands me. And ask, whose voice is this? Is it mine? Or did I inherit it from society, my parents, or the wounds of past heartbreaks? Once you identify its roots, reframe it. Say instead, I am becoming someone who naturally attracts the right person at the right time. This doesn't erase the shadow, it integrates it. You acknowledge the fear, but refuse to let it dictate your choices. And here lies the truth. Awakening does not mean rejecting love. It means redefining it. You stop chasing completion and begin seeking resonance. And resonance takes patience. Quick check-in. Are you connecting with these truths? If you are, write in the comments, I resonate with this stage, and tell me which part of the world you're watching from. It amazes me how this journey unites people everywhere. Here's something Carl Jung emphasized repeatedly. Awakening does not destroy love, it transforms it. When you lose interest in old patterns of romance, it isn't because love has disappeared. It's because you are learning to recognize its true form. So how do you navigate this stage with peace? Begin by treating your alone time not as punishment, but as a sacred practice. Light a candle, take a deep breath, and remind yourself, in this moment, I am whole. This simple ritual anchors you in the truth that solitude is not emptiness, it is presence. The next step is to check your relationships with honesty. Ask, which connections in my life feel nourishing, and which ones feel draining? Slowly, without guilt, allow the draining ones to fade. As Jung taught, your body often knows the truth before your mind does. Expansion in your chest or a lightness in your breath usually means alignment. Tightness, heaviness, or unease often signals compromise. Trust this inner wisdom. And here's the key. Channel the love you once spent seeking outward into creation, service, or spiritual practice. Pour it into art, healing, teaching, or simply living authentically. Because love doesn't vanish when you awaken. It changes shape. But let's pause here. Do you see how awakening flips the story society tells us? Instead of desperately searching for the one, you become the one for yourself first. Then, when true love arrives, it won't look like dependency, possession, or an escape. It will look like two whole souls walking side by side. This stage is a training ground. Yes, it feels unfamiliar. Yes, sometimes fear whispers in the silence. But remember, the pruning of a tree always looks bare before it grows back stronger. Your solitude is not a curse. It is preparation. So, let me ask you again. Are you connecting with this truth? Drop a comment. Solitude is my training ground, if these words resonate with you, and let's talk about it below. Because when we share, we remind each other that none of us walk this journey entirely alone. So if you find yourself less interested in love right now, don't panic. You haven't lost love at all. You are simply learning to recognize it in its real form. And when it finally appears, it will not look like dependency, possession, or a mask you wear to be accepted. Instead, it will feel like two complete beings walking beside each other, free yet connected. Until that moment, solitude is not your enemy. It is your sacred ground of preparation. Jung believed that the process of awakening is never about rejecting human connection. It is about clearing away the illusions so that what remains is genuine. The space you now hold for yourself is training your heart to meet love with truth, not with fear. Let me reframe it for you. You are not less open to love. You are becoming more discerning. You are no longer pulled by the false glitter of shallow intimacy. You are waiting for resonance, for the type of connection that honors both souls fully. That is not weakness. That is strength. And yes, at times, solitude will still feel heavy. At times, you may wonder if you are walking this road forever. But remember, Jung taught that wholeness comes when you integrate what you once projected outward. Every quality you sought in another is already waiting inside you. The moment you embody it, the loneliness shifts. You begin to sense that you are never incomplete. Here is your final practice. Each day, remind yourself that love is not something you must chase. It is something you are. Channel that love into small rituals. Create, serve, meditate, or simply sit in stillness. The more you embody love itself, the more naturally it flows into every connection, whether with people, nature, or spirit. Now, I want to hear from you before we close. Tell me in the comments, do you now see solitude as sacred, or does it still feel scary? Your words might be the mirror someone else needs today. And finally, if you've stayed with me through this journey, honor your growth by subscribing to SYC Soul, liking this video, and turning on the bell so you never miss the wisdom we share here. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because remember, losing interest in the old forms of love doesn't mean you are broken. It means you are awakening to love's highest truth.